Hello, my name is Hayden Rule, and for this marine biology presentation, I chose to do my presentation on deep-sea coral reefs. Also, I'm sorry about the formatting. I couldn't figure out a better way to present it where you'd be able to hear my voice. So first off, cold coral reefs, or cold water reefs, deep-sea coral reefs, all referring to the same thing. They're mostly found in the colder waters, like above Northern Europe, as you can see. But some of the most famous ones are not even in the northern waters. Some of the most famous coral found was at the Hawaiian cold water reefs. If that gives you any inkling as to what we may be missing up here, I'm excited to see what's discovered just because of how dense the amount of coral reefs up there are. So yes, predominantly in northern waters, deep in the ocean, cold, the whole thing is their jam. So again, like I said, cold water, sometimes below freezing even, and they are totally happy with that. They don't photosynthesize, so the darkness also makes them quite happy. And they are at a depth of at least 150 feet, usually far more than that though. Some corals, especially these branching corals up here, they will hang off on the side of the continental shelf just to even catch that much more detritus as it falls. But yeah, some of them like to hang out on the floor like these as well. And these are the main corals you'll find down on a deep sea reef. Lophelia in particular is the most common, and it is also the species that builds the reef for everyone else. Lophelia grows a little bit quicker than the other ones, so its bony structure really kind of lays the land for most of the other species. And this one is one of the most famous corals that I was talking about earlier, found in that Hawaiian reef. This coral, just this picture alone, took 5,000 years to grow. And there's a species of black coral that was found in the same region that's over 40,000 years old, making it the oldest marine animal ever found to date. And another species that I thought was really cool is this bubblegum coral down here, Paragorgia maybe. It is not as common as the other two, but it does have a really cool little symbiont that likes to hang out on it. A pygmy seahorse, and I'll show you a picture of one of those in a minute, but they're very, very tiny. They hardly even look bigger than one of these little tiny nodules on this coral. And this is that seahorse I was talking about. It's very, very small, and it blends in perfectly, keeping it away from predators and everything like that. This is a purple spiny lobster that also lives down there on the ocean floor and tends to frequent these reefs along with this crustacean. These are not only found in the coral reefs though, along with another animal I'll show you later. But these shrimp, when they're threatened by a predator, they'll release a bioluminescent secretion to kind of help them get away, similar to the way that squids and octopus use ink. And this down here is a red coffin fish. It's a species of anglerfish. You can see the little lure right on the front of the head there. These guys also frequent the reefs. They're ambush predators, so they'll hang out around and kind of catch whatever they can that's floating by or even swimming by. And this one up here is a glass sponge. It also has a very cool symbiont. There's a species of shrimp that will go and crawl inside of one of these pores when they're very, very little, and then they'll wait for a mate to come and join them, and eventually they grow inside the sponge and are unable to leave, and they're kind of stuck in this little home where they're away from predators and they're with their mate, and they can just continue to, create offspring until they eventually reach their time. But it works out for them because they get a home, a mate, and they're safe from predators. So some more animals. This is a lion's mane anemone, and it lays open and flat most of the time, and then when something lands inside, or if they catch a big piece of detritus or even a small animal, it'll fold up like like a Venus flytrap. These down here are zombie worms or bone worms. These are also not just found at the coral reefs. They're found anywhere down on the ocean floor, especially if there is, a carcass or any kind of animal life that's died. So these are also really common at like whale falls and things like that. But they dig in and they eat the bone marrow out of the carcasses, and they tend to be in such massive numbers that when you're looking at the carcass, you can't even tell that they're worms. It almost just looks like an algae covering the entire thing. It's pretty impressive, actually. This right here is a lion's mane nudibranch. He is one of my favorite animals that lives down there. This whole front part on its head with all the little tentacles onto the side, they can wave it around up in the air and kind of use it as a net to catch more detritus, and then they can flip it back down and look through the sand as well. And you can also see back on the fins, it also has some bioluminescent properties to it as well. And this is one of the only nudibranch species that I could find that lived in the deep, so that was pretty cool. And this is a sea pin over on this side. It's anemone-like, it's very gelatinous, it's, you know, stuck on a rock by a holdfast, and it uses all of its tiny little hair-like cilia off of each one of these tentacles to catch the detritus as it flows through the water, and the sea pin will also float as well and just kind of go with the rhythm to try and catch even more detritus. And some threats that these reefs are facing, a big one, the main one I would say, is deep water trawling. They use really small nets like this, or they're large nets, but they have small mesh size. Not that any of these structures would be able to fit through a large mesh size either, but they draw the entire bottom and they wipe out everything that was built there before. And you remember that I said these reefs take thousands, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of years even to, you know, establish. And even if the problem's rectified, we will never see the, you know, the comeback of these corals. Not within our lifetime. They'll never recover from what we've done where we'll be able to see it. Another one is oil drilling. This one is not quite as aggressive because it doesn't wipe out the corals completely, but you can see that it does kind of leave a sludge all over them, which doesn't let them catch detritus with their, you know, nematocysts and everything like that. And it still takes these ecosystems thousands and thousands of years to respond and recuperate from an event like this, and unfortunately it happens every day. There's not a whole lot being done to conserve these reefs. Only the really well-known popular ones are getting any kind of conservation efforts, and all they do is flag them off to let you know, hey, there's something down there, probably shouldn't fish. But the ones like in Northern Europe, where there's a ton of them, most of those aren't getting protected at all. And then just to conclude everything, they're deep water reefs. They like the darkness, the cold. It's a really unfavorable environment for something you would think is more of a tropical animal, but they've adapted and, you know, made it their home. And I hope that we can keep it that way and stop destroying everything that they've built since, you know, before we were even here. And then my references are down here. Thank you.